The vast spiritual energy surged out from the cave like a tidal wave, and at the same time, a tall figure slowly emerged under the watchful eyes of Nine Nether, Han Shan, and the others. When they saw this figure, their gazes involuntarily tightened, for in that instant, they all sensed a powerful pressure emanating from it. This pressure caused them to feel somewhat astonished. All of them had been at the 7th grade Supreme for a long time, yet now Mu Chun, who had just broken through, exuded a pressure that already surpassed their own. However, this astonishment lasted only for a moment. After all, for someone who, when still at the 6th grade Supreme, could defeat a peak 7th grade Supreme head-on, possessing such extraordinary combat power was obviously not surprising. While they marveled, Mu Chen stood outside the cave. The overwhelming spiritual energy surrounding him gradually receded. Eventually being completely absorbed into his body, he slowly clenched his palms, feeling the vast spiritual power flowing through his limbs and bones, and a satisfied smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. This breakthrough had directly increased the power of the spiritual energy within him by several times, and its refinement level far surpassed what it was before. According to his estimation, if he were to face the previous 8th grade beast spirit again, he wouldn't need to set up numerous spirit arrays like before. With his current strength, slaying an 8th grade beast spirit would no longer be as troublesome. With the spiritual power cultivation of a 7th grade Supreme, combined with the physical strength of a 7th grade Supreme, these two aspects together were enough to make Mu Chen surpass any other 7th grade Supreme in fact, even when facing a true 8th grade Supreme, he would possess the strength to directly confront them. And this was not the only gain from his cultivation. Mu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly and saw spatial fluctuations behind him. The Supreme Sea appeared faintly, with waves rolling and spiritual energy surging wildly to the bottom of the Supreme Sea. A white, jade-like lotus seed floated serenely, releasing waves of boundless vitality that made the spiritual energy within the Supreme Sea even more refined and agile. That it was the white jade lotus seed of the 9 revolutions green lotus. Currently, Mu Chen did not have the strength to fully refine it, so he directly absorbed it into the Supreme Sea, where it was suppressed. This way, the white jade lotus seed would continuously release boundless vitality to nourish the spiritual energy within the Supreme Sea. Moreover, once he reached the 9th grade Supreme and attempted to break through the Earth Supreme realm, this lotus seed might provide significant assistance. Mu Chen had a feeling that day wouldn't be too far off. After all, he had just officially stepped into the 7th grade Supreme and was only 2 grades away from the 9th grade Supreme. His thoughts churned, but he suppressed them in the end. The most urgent matter now was to enter the Divine Tomb Garden's inner domain and help Nine Nether obtain the inheritance blood of the ancient Undying bird. The Supreme Sea behind him quickly dissipated, and with a movement, Mu Chen appeared in front of Nine Nether and the others, offering a faint smile. Let's go. It's time to head into the inner domain. Nine Nether and the others looked at Mu Chen and could all feel a strong sense of confidence from him. Although one of his trump cards, the thunder-devouring beast heart, was no longer available, Mu Chen's greater reliance now clearly lay in his own strength. After the breakthrough, he no longer feared Bai Ming. Seeing Mu Chen's confidence, Nine Nether and the others felt reassured. They nodded, and without further delay, they transformed into several beams of light, shooting forward on the way. Mu Chen and the others didn't stop at all. Thanks to the piercing gaze of the Annihilation Eye, they easily avoided all the dangerous areas and large groups of beast spirits, heading straight for the inner domain without obstruction at their full speed. It took only half a day before they noticed the surrounding world gradually becoming unusual. The land beneath them, which had been black, now began to mix with a crimson hue. The red was so intense that it made one's heart race, and faintly, an ominous aura seemed to emanate from it, making the spiritual energy within their bodies stir restlessly. Mu Chen and the others began to slow down. They looked toward the distance and saw that a dark golden curtain of light had descended, enveloping the area, separating the world into inner and outer regions. Behind that light curtain should be the inner domain of the Divine Tomb Garden. Mu Chen gazed at the enormous hanging sky curtain, his expression serious. From the light curtain, he sensed an indescribable, powerful fluctuation. He could tell that the curtain was likely part of a large formation, and such a terrifying spiritual array could only have been set up by a true grandmaster of spirit arrays. Jiu Yu and the others also nodded, their faces filled with solemnity and caution. "Let's go." Mu Chun took the lead and soared toward the hanging sky curtain. As he approached, he saw countless mysterious runes flowing within the curtain, each one radiating terrifying power. With such a light curtain forming a barrier, not even someone as powerful as Mu Chun would be able to break through it. In fact, even a lower Earth Supreme would find it impossible. After a brief pause, Mu Chun clenched his hand, and the heart of the 8th grade beast spirit appeared in his palm. He tossed it toward the light curtain, where it slowly approached the barrier. Ancient runes glowed and radiated light, casting a beam that enveloped the 8th grade beast spirit heart. Under this light, black smoke began to rise from the previously pitch-black beast heart. The smoke contained a strong aura of death, but as soon as it touched the light, it was instantly evaporated. In just a few breaths, the heart that had been filled with death energy transformed into a normal beast heart, its death energy fully purified. Moreover, the beast heart seemed to contain a hint of vitality, faintly pulsing, as if alive. Mu Chun was surprised at the sight. He hadn't expected the spiritual array to be so powerful. Not only could it purify the death energy, but it could even grant a bit of life to a heart that had been dead for millennia. However, Mu Chun knew that despite this, the beast heart would still never be able to be resurrected. The purified beast heart slowly drifted toward the light curtain and gradually fused with it, transforming into a speck of light as it fully integrated with the array. At that very moment, a gap roughly 1 yard wide tore open in the light curtain before them. Mu Chun took a deep breath as he stared at the gap. He turned to Jiu Yu and the others, exchanged a glance, and then nodded sharply, stepping through the crack. The others followed closely behind. Upon stepping into the gap, the first thing that struck their eyes was a blood-red land, stretching toward the horizon. From a distance, it resembled a vast sea of scarlet blood. The crimson earth exuded an eerie, sinister aura. The color was not the result of natural phenomena, but rather the aftermath of blood sacrifice. Such blood must have been exceptionally potent, or it would not have remained so vivid even after countless years. Just a single glance made Mu Chun and the others shiver with cold. The entire land felt demonic. Suspended in the air, Mu Chun and the others dared not land on the ground. As they hovered above, they noticed that the sky here was entirely different from the outside world. A powerful aura lingered in the sky, emanating from a once formidable existence. Even though it had long perished, its will still lingered in the heavens and earth, as if it were suppressing something. The sky and earth here were in opposition, and Mu Chun and his group felt incredibly small in this place. It was as if they were ants caught between the battle of two giant, hostile forces. In ancient times, this was likely the place where the fiercest battles occurred within the divine beast plains. Mu Chun sighed. Even after countless years, the site's brutality still left a deep impression that it was unimaginable what kind of terrifying war had taken place here during ancient times. The extraterritorial clan had come in full force, and the powerful beings of the divine beast plains fought with all their might to protect their homeland, engaging in a deadly battle against the fearsome extraterritorial clan. Just thinking about such a battle sent a chill down one's spine. Jiu Yu and the others were also wary, their faces filled with caution that in such a strange place, any hint of danger could lead to their demise. "Let's go. Try not to step on the ground," Mu Chun said as he looked toward the distance. He waved his hand. Since they had entered this inner domain, they could not afford to retreat lightly. As his voice fell, he darted forward. However, this time he was much more cautious. Slowing his speed significantly, he no longer charged recklessly as he had before. Moreover, he dared not use the Annihilation Eye for spying here. After all, if he happened to glimpse some ancient being and triggered a backlash, it would be beyond his capacity to endure. Fortunately, this inner domain was not as boundless as they had imagined. After rushing forward for about half an hour, Mu Chun slowed his speed again, for something different finally appeared on the monotonous, blood-soaked earth. It was an ancient altar, towering to an extreme height, nearly 10,000 feet tall, standing firmly on the ground, as if it connected heaven and earth. Countless stone chains extended from the altar, penetrating the earth, as though binding something. Chen gazed at the altar with a sense of foreboding. He had a strong feeling that what they were looking for on this journey was most likely here. Just as this thought crossed his mind, he suddenly felt a cold, mocking gaze directed toward him. From one part of the altar, coming from afar. Following the direction of that gaze, Chen saw, as expected, Bai Ming in his blue robe, leisurely waving the ice blue feather fan. Accompanied by several powerful members of the Phoenix clan, Bai Ming's fan fluttered as he smiled mockingly at Chen, his grin tinged with derision. "I didn't expect you to actually show up. In that case, I'm not sure whether to commend your courage or to say you're utterly foolish." When Bai Ming's cold, mocking gaze was cast upon him, Chen's expression remained calm. He scanned the surroundings and noticed that Bai Ming and the others were standing on a massive stone platform atop the altar. The Xun'er clan, the Nine-Colored Peacock clan, and other top teams had unsurprisingly already arrived. To Chen's surprise, however, there were several other teams present as well, teams from powerful divine beast factions. Yet, their conditions didn't look good. Some of them appeared wounded, indicating they had suffered casualties in the previous battles with the 8th-grade beast spirits. As Chen surveyed the scene, many of the teams on the stone platform turned their curious eyes toward him. They noticed that Chen's group hadn't lost any members. This meant that, in the battle with the 8th-grade beast spirits, Chen's team had suffered no casualties. However, this fact didn't spark on their eyes. Instead, a trace of pity appeared. They had sensed the terrifying fluctuations when Chen used the thunder-devouring beast heart before, so they naturally assumed he had relied on that item to slay the 8th-grade beast spirits. But that item had been Chen's greatest trump card. Bai Ming hadn't directly attacked them before because of the presence of the thunder-devouring beast heart. Now, with that item gone, how could Chen possibly face Bai Ming, such a fierce opponent? Thus, when the team saw that Chen's group appeared unscathed, their hearts were filled more with pity than anything else. Some even shook their heads in secret. This Chen truly seemed unaware of the danger. Did he really think Bai Ming was an easy opponent? The elder with graying hair leading the Xun'er clan watched Chen with great interest, seemingly wanting to see whether Chen was fearless or simply utterly foolish. Kong Ling from the Nine-Colored Peacock clan had never once looked at Chen. Back when they were outside the Divine Tomb Garden, she had intervened to stop Bai Ming, not wanting Chen and Bai Ming to clash and disrupt their entry into the inner domain. But now that they had entered, Chen seemed determined to seek his own destruction, so she saw no need to concern herself with his life or death. Amidst all these differing gazes, Chen remained unchanged. He continued to move swiftly with Jiuyo and the others, eventually landing on the stone platform. Chen, look! Jiuyo suddenly exclaimed excitedly as Chen landed. Chen immediately followed Jiuyo's pointed direction, and his pupils constricted. For there, on the northern side of the enormous altar, atop a stone tower, stood a stone statue. The stone statue spread its massive wings, shrouding the sky and blotting out the sun. It resembled a phoenix, yet was not one, akin to a vermilion bird yet distinct. Its body seemed to be engulfed in flames, flames that burned eternally, as if they embodied immortality itself, though it was merely a statue. The ancient pressure it emanated was so overwhelming that even the blood within one's veins seemed to flow sluggishly in its presence. Chen could sense that the true phoenix spirit coiled around his body suddenly trembled. The faint phoenix cry echoed from within, carrying a sense of both intimacy and undeniable reverence. Exhaling deeply, a flicker of joy appeared in Chen's eyes, though he had never seen an ancient undying bird before. The reaction of the true phoenix spirit made it clear. This stone statue before him was undoubtedly the legendary ancient undying bird. It seemed his guess was correct. Deep within the Divine Tomb Garden's inner domain, the remains of an undying bird had indeed fallen, and where the undying bird had perished, its inheritance blood must exist as well. Excitement surged within him, but he quickly suppressed it as he noticed something peculiar. This altar did not hold just one stone statue, but 3 that the second statue depicted a massive bird with wings draped in flowing clouds that it was dazzlingly magnificent, exuding an astonishing spiritual aura. Each flap of its wings seemed to stir vitality itself. What is this? Chen frowned at the unfamiliar stone carving, unable to identify the creature it depicted. That is an ancient myriad spirit bird, one of the supreme divine beasts. But it has long since gone extinct. Nether spoke with deep respect before sighing. During the ancient times, the invasion of the extraterritorial clans brought catastrophic losses to the Great Thousand Worlds. Many of these rare and powerful supreme divine beasts perished when their lineages were severed. Over time, their descendants dwindled into mere ordinary spirit beasts. Chen nodded slightly. If that was the case, then the extraterritorial clans were indeed the greatest enemies of the Great Thousand Worlds. One invasion had caused such devastating losses, even leading to the extinction of entire species. What about the last one? Chen turned his gaze to the final statue. It depicted a towering beast, its head raised in a sky-shaking roar. Its massive frame seemed capable of propping up the heavens, its pitch-black body exuding a terrifying presence. Its enormous hands were like mountain peaks. If one were to strike down, the land for thousands of miles would crumble beneath it. That is an ancient desolate beast, another supreme divine beast of the ancient era. It possessed boundless strength and the power of berserk transformation. Once it entered that state, its combat abilities would multiply. It is said that the Heavenly Ape clan inherited this ability, likely from the ancient desolate beast itself, Nether explained. So the ancient records were true. During the ancient era, the divine beast planes were ruled by 3 beast sovereigns. According to legend, when the divine beast planes were destroyed, these 3 fought back in a final act of vengeance, directly killing several extraterritorial clan kings and sealing them away. Nether murmured in admiration as she gazed at the colossal altar. 3 beast sovereigns, huh? Chen nodded slightly. Judging from their deeds, they were indeed worthy of the title. But as his eyes swept beyond the altar, they landed on the eerie, blood-red land stretching into the distance. His brows furrowed as he recalled the mysterious black hole at the site where the treasure beast had fallen. That dark void led to an unknown place, and the treasure beast's entire essence blood had vanished into it. Was there some connection between the two? Regardless, he needed to remain cautious. It seems all the teams have arrived. As Chen and Nether conversed, Kong Ling of the 9-colored peacock clan lifted her gaze and spoke indifferently. Since you've made it here, it means your strength is not insignificant. This inner domain marks the site where the 3 beast sovereigns of the divine beast planes perished in the ancient era. And as you might have guessed, their inheritance blood can indeed be obtained here. At her words, aside from the top-tier teams who already knew, the eyes of many others, including Nether's group, lit up with excitement. However, Kong Ling's voice paused before she continued. There are only 3 strands of inheritance blood. That means only 3 people will walk away with them. The rest will leave empty-handed. The moment her words fell, the excitement of many teams instantly cooled, as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over them. Only 3 strands of inheritance blood. That meant even among the 5 elite teams, 2 would fail to obtain anything, let alone the rest of them, and Chen's expression remained calm. Although he didn't know the exact situation, he could guess that obtaining the inheritance essence blood wasn't an easy task, so he had never been overly optimistic from the start, and naturally, he was not disappointed as Kong Ling's voice fell. The stone platform fell into silence. Any team that could enter the inner domain was undoubtedly powerful, but everyone knew that only the 5 top teams had the qualification to fight for the 3 inheritance essence bloods. Although they were unwilling, they could do nothing about it, not to mention their lineups. Even the leaders of those 5 teams had reached the 8th grade supreme level, far stronger than other powerful figures. To put it bluntly, just one of their leaders could wipe out an entire team. While the other teams remained silent, Bai Ming, standing in the center of the platform, was the first to smile. He said, "Since the rules have been laid out, I will choose the inheritance essence blood of the ancient Undying bird." As his words dropped, he appeared at the top of the stone steps. where a plaza led to the stone statue of the ancient Undying bird. Only through this plaza could one reach the base of the statue. Upon seeing that Bai Ming had indeed chosen the inheritance essence blood of the Undying bird, Juyo's heart sank. It seemed that to obtain the inheritance essence blood, he would indeed have to compete with Bai Ming. This inheritance essence blood of the ancient Undying bird shares the same origin as my clan's bloodline, that I hope you all will show some favor. Standing in the plaza, Bai Ming looked down at the crowd on the platform and cupped his fists in a smile. The elderly man from the Xun'er clan crossed his arms and smiled faintly, not choosing to compete with Bai Ming, for his target was not the inheritance blood of the ancient Undying bird. Kong Ling of the Jiucai Peacock clan also refrained from taking action, as she would compete with Zhong Qingfeng of the Xun'er clan for the inheritance essence blood of the 10,000 spirit bird. The remaining teams, the Tian Ape clan and the Heavenly Crane clan, also held back, as they had their sights set on the inheritance essence blood of the ancient desolate beast. The former sought it due to their clan's bloodline connection, while the latter was interested in the berserk power. When the four top teams chose not to challenge Bai Ming, the other teams naturally dared not step forward. After all, Bai Ming was from the Phoenix clan, and most frightening of all was his extraordinary strength. So, when Bai Ming's voice fell, there was complete silence around him, and no one dared to challenge him. Bai Bin and the others, seeing this scene, secretly felt pleased. They then cast a cold glance at Mu Chen, thinking that once Bai Ming obtained the inheritance essence blood of the Undying bird, they would come to deal with them. However, just as this thought crossed his mind, Bai Bin's pupils suddenly contracted, as if witnessing something incredible. Indeed, it wasn't just him. Even the other top teams were showing expressions of shock, because they saw that after Bai Ming's words fell, Mu Chen, who was standing before Juyo and the others, silently stepped forward and began to climb the stone steps, slowly making his way up. A low murmur spread among the teams, as no one had expected this human, who had offended Bai Ming, to not try to escape at this moment, but instead dare to challenge Bai Ming face to face. On the plaza, Bai Ming's originally calm smile gradually faded. He coldly watched Mu Chen's step-by-step approach, then slightly curled his lips. Truly a fool seeking death. On the stone steps, Mu Chen continued his ascent, eventually reaching the plaza under Bai Ming's indifferent gaze. He seemed unaffected by the incredulous looks directed at him. With a smile, he said, "We're also quite interested in the inheritance essence blood of the Undying bird." Bai Ming gently waved his ice-blue feather fan, sending a chill sweeping through the air. He didn't even look at Mu Chen, but simply nodded and said, "A solo performance isn't much fun, but if a clown joins in, I'm happy to play along." There was a trace of disdain at the corner of his lips, and his words were sharp and unkind, showing no respect for Mu Chen. Clearly, from the very beginning, he had never taken Mu Chen seriously. Hearing his condescending words, Juyo's beautiful eyes flashed with anger, and Mo Ling was equally furious. However, despite their rage, they didn't speak out, as they were also somewhat concerned. Though Mu Chen had broken through to the 7th grade supreme, if it came to a fight with Bai Ming, no one could guarantee the outcome. Unlike Juyo and Mo Ling's anger, Mu Chen's youthful face remained unaffected, and he replied, "Who the clown is, it's probably a bit too early to say." Bai Ming's lips curled into a deeper sneer. This time, he couldn't even be bothered to speak with Mu Chen, treating him as nothing more than a stubborn fool in his final moments. With a casual flick of his fan, he closed his eyes. However, even with his eyes shut, anyone could clearly feel the cold, murderous intent slowly gathering on Bai Ming's body. One could easily imagine that when he made his move, it would be like a lightning strike. Swift and ruthless, he would crush Mu Chen underfoot like a dead dog. And in that moment, he would watch to see if that calm, unshaken expression could still remain on his face. Such a fool, seeking death. As Bai Ming closed his eyes, Bai Bin grinned, his face twisted with malice as he glared at Mu Chen. He couldn't fathom how this idiot had the nerve to provoke Bai Ming at such a time. Had this fool simply knelt and begged for mercy, offering up the treasure related to the true Phoenix aura, Bai Ming might have spared his life for the sake of the 9 Nether Sparrow clan. But it was too late now. This idiot had completely enraged Bai Ming, and Bai Bin was certain that this altar would become Mu Chen's final resting place. Beside him, Chi Hongwu of the Crimson Phoenix clan furrowed her brows before silently shaking her head. To her, Mu Chen's provocation of Bai Ming was equally foolish. But now, it was too late to say anything. She could only watch to see if Bai Ming would spare Mu Chen after obtaining what he wanted. No one from the other groups seemed to have any faith in Mu Chen. The way they looked at him was as if he were already dead. This kid's got guts. If you manage to survive Bai Ming's hand, I, Lu Ho, don't mind sparing you a life, the thin leader of the Heavenly Ape clan said with a grin, his eyes fixed on the scene. He couldn't help but laugh loudly. He didn't think much of Bai Ming's arrogance. When no one dared to challenge Bai Ming earlier, he was a little dissatisfied, but now that Mu Chen had slapped Bai Ming in the face, he was a bit surprised. So, he decided to speak up. Though Bai Ming was powerful, Lu Ho wasn't afraid of him at all. Still, his words clearly showed that he didn't think Mu Chen's provocation would end well. When his laughter subsided, Lu Ho didn't say much more. He moved with a swift motion, appearing on the other side, on the plaza leading to the ancient desolate beast stone statue. With a heavy stomp of his stone cudgel, the ground shook beneath him. The heavenly crane's stray bird wants to steal the ancient desolate beast's essence blood inheritance? You'll have to go through me first. Lu Ho laughed, his voice brash, completely at odds with his thin frame. I've long wanted to experience the Heavenly Ape clan's mighty divine strength. Upon hearing Lu Ho's challenge, the leader of the Heavenly Crane clan let out a soft chuckle. With a quick step, he appeared like a shadow before Lu Ho, his palm gripping a red longsword that seemed to resemble a crane's beak. A faint, strange fragrance emitted from it, carrying a terrifying poison. As the Heavenly Ape clan and the Heavenly Crane clan faced off, Zhong Qingfeng from the Kunping clan turned toward Kong Ling of the Nine-Colored Peacock clan and smiled slightly. Lady Kong Ling, the inheritance essence blood of the 10,000 spirit bird. How about the winner takes it? An offer I cannot refuse, Kong Ling replied softly. The two exchanged a look, and it was clear that sparks flew between them. They were both top-tier youths from their respective clans, always with a superior attitude. Now that they were here, they naturally wanted to clash and see who was stronger. With a flash, the two stepped forward and appeared on another plaza as they faced off. Immense spiritual energy surged around them. Now, on the three plazas leading to the three stone statues, the six individuals stood in confrontation. The atmosphere was overwhelming, and everyone could sense the impending intensity of the battle. Of course, the intensity did not include the fight between Mu Chen and Bai Ming. Many. That battle seemed to have no suspense. On the plaza leading to the Undying birdstone statue, Bai Ming slowly opened his eyes. His gaze was emotionless as he fixed it on Mu Chen, saying nothing more. But everyone could see the overwhelming ice-blue coldness of the spiritual energy, flooding from his body, forming a chilling whirlwind that engulfed him. Mu Chen gazed at the formidable Bai Ming, his expression turning more serious. Although Bai Ming was unpleasant, it couldn't be denied that his strength was overwhelming. As a prodigy of the Cold Phoenix clan, he had every right to be arrogant. I'll freeze you into an ice statue and leave you in this tomb, Bai Ming's indifferent voice rang out. In the next moment, he slammed his foot onto the ground, and a visible wave of cold air exploded outward like a shockwave. The temperature plummeted, and a thick layer of ice rapidly spread across the square's surface, resembling a flood of chilling energy, heading straight toward Mu Chen. Boom! Brilliant golden light erupted from Mu Chen's body. The spirit of the true dragon and phoenix, which had been coiled around his skin, was fully activated. The true dragon and phoenix spiraled around his right arm, and with a powerful punch, he struck. Boom! The punch shattered the space in front of him, unleashing an indescribable force that swept out, directly slamming into the incoming wave of cold air. Thud! The two forces collided violently, causing the entire square to tremble. Mu Chen staggered backward, leaving deep imprints on the ground with every step. When his foot left the eighth imprint, his black eyes flashed with cold light. His fingers clenched tightly, and once more, he slammed his fist into the icy wave. Crack! Visible cracks quickly spread from Mu Chen's fist, and within a few breaths, the massive ice flood shattered with a thunderous roar, scattering into countless icy shards. The crowd outside watched in stunned silence. Their eyes widened as they realized that Mu Chen's physical strength was likely enough to overwhelm even a 7th grade supreme. Icy shards flew through the air, and Mu Chen's body radiated golden light, signaling that he had pushed his dragon phoenix body to its limit. Every movement was filled with volcanic-like power. Such raw strength. Bai Ming's figure appeared in midair, his cold sneer cutting through the silence. My ice isn't so easy to break. As his words fell, he waved his sleeve, and the scattered icy shards turned into a storm of countless arrows, rushing toward Mu Chen. Mu Chen formed a seal with his palms, and the spirit of the true dragon and phoenix separated from his body, forming a protective light shield around him. The icy barrage slammed into the shield, but it couldn't break through the defense. Watching this, Bai Ming's eyes grew even colder. Mu Chen's physical strength was unexpectedly strong, something he hadn't anticipated. His previous attack would have forced even a peak 7th grade supreme to retreat, but Mu Chen had blocked it entirely. This guy, dare to challenge him? He might have some ability, but did he think that was enough? With a mocking smile, Bai Ming formed a one-handed seal, and an intense, cold aura began to gather in his eyes. Since that's the case, I suppose I can entertain myself for a bit. Boom! It was as if a volcano suddenly erupted, a terrifying spiritual energy shot into the sky, and the surrounding air grew icy cold. Fragmented ice particles began to gather in the sky, forming a chilling spectacle. Bai Ming hovered in the air, looking down at Mu Chen with an icy grin, his immense spiritual pressure causing several powerful figures around them to pale in fear. This spiritual force far surpassed that of a 7th grade supreme. It was the true power of an 8th grade supreme. The overwhelming spiritual energy roared like a storm across the sky. Bai Ming clenched his hand, and the icy energy surged forward, transforming into a towering ice mountain. The ice mountain took the shape of a cold phoenix with intricate patterns glowing across its surface, continuously drawing energy from the heavens and earth. The onlookers, seeing this cold phoenix ice mountain, felt their scalps tingle. They immediately realized the terrifying nature of Bai Ming's attack. He had given Mu Chen no chance at all, unleashing the full might of an 8th grade supreme right from the start. That Mu Chen might not be able to resist at all. Bai Ming's gaze was indifferent, as though a deity looking down upon mortals. With a swift motion of his hand, the frost phoenix ice mountain suddenly plummeted down, crashing like a meteor, directly aiming to suppress Mu Chen beneath it. Cold Phoenix Scripture. Phoenix Mountain suppresses all beasts. Boom! The ice mountain, shaped like a phoenix's wings spreading, descended, bringing with it an unrelenting cold current as the cold swept through. Even the space around it turned into ice crystals, creating a stunning yet dangerous sight from afar. However, beneath its beauty, there was a palpable, heart-stopping danger. The ice mountain rapidly grew in Mu Chen's vision, and he took a deep breath, his expression becoming grave. With a sudden motion, he formed a hand seal. Buzz! A surge of immense spiritual power exploded from within Mu Chen's body, far more powerful than before, multiplying several times over. So he's reached the 7th grade supreme. Many powerful individuals around him realized the tremendous increase in Mu Chen's power. When they encountered him outside the Divine Tomb Garden, he had only reached the peak of 6th grade supreme. To think that not long after, he had made a breakthrough. It was truly unexpected, but even with this breakthrough, Mu Chen was still only a 7th grade supreme, while Bai Ming was a bona fide 8th grade supreme. Boundless spiritual power surged around Mu Chen as his eyes gleamed with light. His hand seal shifted once more, causing his body to radiate with golden light. Dragon and phoenix cries echoed, and a powerful aura seemed to emanate from him on his arms. The spirits of the true dragon and phoenix coiled. They let out a roar to the heavens, and golden light seeped into Mu Chen's flesh and blood. Before long, golden dragon scales and phoenix feathers began to sprout from his arms, forming a complete set of dragon and phoenix arm guards, layer upon layer, covering his arms. The 7th grade supreme's spiritual power and physical strength had now fully converged. Boom! Visible ripples of spiritual light emanated from Mu Chen's body. The intensity of this aura caused the onlookers, who had been watching casually, to change their expressions slightly. From that power, they sensed a dangerously intense vibe. Even those who had reached the peak of 7th grade Supreme felt a slight chill as they faced Mu Chen. This kid dares to challenge Bai Ming. He really does have some skills. The observers' expressions grew serious, and the earlier mockery faded. What they were seeing now was not something an ordinary 7th grade Supreme could display. Boom! As their thoughts raced, Mu Chen, gathering both his physical and spiritual power, took half a step back, his body bent like a bow, and with a slight retreat of his elbow, he threw a punch. The punch moved slowly, as though submerged in mud. But wherever the wind from his punch passed, the space twisted, creating ripples that spread out from the center. Boom! The punch slammed forward, carrying a torrent of spiritual light, and with an intense crash, it collided directly with the descending ice mountain. Visible shockwaves exploded outward, and cracks rapidly appeared on the plaza. Mu Chen's body was pushed down by the force of the ice mountain, his feet sinking into the solid stone slabs beneath, cracking them apart. From a distance, Mu Chen appeared like a fierce tiger trapped beneath an ice mountain, struggling for freedom. In midair, Bai Ming saw this scene. A cold smile curling at the corner of his mouth, his body moved, and he appeared on top of the ice mountain, ready to stomp down and bury Mu Chen completely. However, just as his foot was about to land, the ice mountain beneath him suddenly trembled. Roar! From beneath the ice mountain, the sound of dragon and phoenix cries echoed. A massive beam of dragon and phoenix light, about 100 feet long, shot upward, tearing through the ice mountain as if it were papered. It broke through the peak of the mountain, the overwhelming golden light piercing straight through beneath Bai Ming's feet. Bai Ming's expression darkened, and his figure vanished in a flash, leaving only a fleeting afterimage, while the golden light continued its relentless path. Boom! The golden light soared to the heavens, resembling a pillar holding up the sky. Meanwhile, the ice mountain collapsed rapidly under the golden glow, shattering with a loud crash and scattering into countless ice shards. On the altar, the teams gazed at the scene before them, all slightly moved. Clearly, they hadn't expected what was unfolding. What they had assumed would be a one-sided battle had turned out to be completely unexpected. As the cold air gradually dispersed, numerous gazes turned toward the scene. There, on the vast square, Mu Chen slowly pulled his legs out from the deeply embedded earth. His expression was indifferent as he lifted his head, looking up at the sky. There, Bai Ming's figure reappeared, though he still wore an expression of indifference. His eyes clearly showed a hint of surprise. It was evident that the strength Mu Chen had displayed earlier had caught him off guard. Relying on his own spiritual power and the enhancement from his powerful physical body, Mu Chen, though only at the 7th grade Supreme level, possessed combat strength that far surpassed the typical 7th grade Supreme. No wonder this guy had the guts to challenge him. He certainly had some real strength. Boom! At that very moment, as Bai Ming's gaze flickered, Mu Chen suddenly stamped his foot. His figure transformed into a streak of light, shooting straight toward Bai Ming. Around them, low murmurs of astonishment erupted. Mu Chen, daring to initiate a counterattack first. Whoosh! Mu Chen's figure appeared above Bai Ming like a shadow. In a flash, he formed hand seals, and an overwhelming surge of spiritual power erupted. Behind him, the space distorted, and the Supreme, see faintly, appeared. Then, golden light burst forth, and a massive, sun-like Dharmakaya manifested, towering like a god. Mu Chen wasted no time. Without hesitation, he summoned the great sun indestructible body. Knowing how formidable Bai Ming was, there was no room for hesitation or holding back. He went all out immediately. The great sun indestructible body stood firm in the sky, golden light enveloping it. Mysterious and powerful. Mu Chen appeared atop its head. Shifting his seal. 5 golden suns slowly rose from within the body of the indestructible body, eventually exploding outward. 5 sun spear. A golden torrent gathered in the palm of the great sun indestructible body, forming a colossal golden spear. The spear, with 5 blazing suns circling it, radiated immense power. With Mu Chen's current strength, Performing this move was effortless. Whoosh! The golden spear shot out, tearing through the air with explosive force, heading straight for Bai Ming. The terrifying fluctuation felt like a meteor falling from the sky, carrying the intent to annihilate. As the golden spear hurtled toward him, Bai Ming's expression darkened and he sneered coldly, raising his hands to form seals. Mysterious light patterns radiated from his palms, and with a swift motion, he pressed down on the space before him. Frost Phoenix Feather. Buzz. Vast spiritual energy condensed rapidly, transforming into a massive ice blue feather of over 100 feet in size. The feather screeched through the air, carrying an aura of intense cold, crashing directly into the incoming golden spear. Boom! A violent shockwave erupted, shattering both the golden spear and the ice feather simultaneously. Whoosh! Whoosh! Amidst the chaotic shockwave, a series of rapid, sharp wind-breaking sounds suddenly pierced the air. Bai Ming quickly looked up, his pupils narrowing. Before him, over a dozen golden torrents appeared, each one transformed from a golden spear. Each of these torrents carried the immense power to severely injure even a peak 7th grade Supreme. When Mu Chen's strength had broken through to the 7th grade Supreme, this technique, the Five-Sun Spear, which once required his full effort to perform, could now be unleashed at such scale and speed, flooding the air with terrifying force. The sheer scale of the attack sent chills down the spines of the many powerful experts watching. Petty tricks. Bai Ming's expression turned icy. He extended his fingers, cold lights swirling around them. With a swift motion, he drew intricate light seals in the air. The moment his fingers stopped, a cold current burst forth, quickly forming a massive ice shield over 1,000 feet in size. That on the shield, a phoenix spread its wings, exquisitely detailed and dazzling. The shield was so sturdy that even an 8th grade Supreme attack wouldn't be able to break through it. Boom! Boom! The golden spears roared toward the ice phoenix shield, relentlessly striking it. Despite the violent barrage, the shield only showed cracks, though it remained unbroken. Without the strength of an 8th grade Supreme, don't even think about breaking my Frost Phoenix Spirit Shield. Bai Ming stood behind the ice shield, sneering. Buzz! Just as his voice fell, golden light erupted ahead. 2 golden beams shot through the air like meteors, and within the golden light were 2 massive golden staves. It was the 7 suns intercepting heaven staff. Previously, Mu Chen could only barely condense a single staff with the power of his physical body. However, now that he has broken through, he is able to directly condense 2 staffs and launch his attack simultaneously. The power of these 2 intercepting heaven staves is such that even a true 8th grade Supreme would not dare to underestimate them. Boom! The golden staff pierced the sky, and in the next instant, it directly slammed into the exquisite ice shield. Both the staff and the shield momentarily froze, and in the next second, a terrifying shockwave exploded out. The ice shield, capable of withstanding an attack from an 8th grade Supreme, was utterly shattered. Crystallized golden light raged through the air, and Bai Ming's figure was sent flying back in disarray. His hair was slightly messed up from the impact, clearly showing that Mu Chen's sudden powerful offensive had caught him off guard. Around them, many powerful figures were shaken, not expecting that Mu Chen could actually force Bai Ming into such a compromised position. On the altar, Bai Bin's expression also changed, his face full of disbelief. Beside him, Qi Hongwu's delicate face turned solemn. Neither of them had expected that the previously insignificant Mu Chen could actually possess the strength to somewhat resist Bai Ming. Under the astonished gazes from the altar, Bai Ming steadied himself, his eyes, sharp as blades, locked onto Mu Chen, his face dark with fury. He hadn't expected that a mere 7th grade Supreme would be capable of making him falter. However, Bai Ming was no ordinary person. His anger quickly subsided, and with an icy gaze, he slowly extended his hand. A flash of cold light appeared, and an ice blue feather fan materialized in his hand. When Bai Ming held the ice blue feather fan, even Mu Chen's pupils contracted. That moment, Bai Ming's presence exuded far more danger, clearly elevating his threat to an entirely new level. Finally, he's resorting to a semi-holy artifact.